Do you find that you're emotionally numb? Or do you find that you're just angry all the time and not sure why? Or even more, you find that your behaviors are dictated a lot by your emotions and they're just out of control, and then after you say or do something, then you're regretting it and you're finding that that happens over and over again? Well, today we're going to talk about our emotions and really decoding them and understanding them for what they are and what you can do about it to regain control. Hi, I'm Ronna Brown, registered nurse, counselor, marriage and family therapist, and relationship coach. And welcome to the Art of Connection Therapy channel, where we talk about connection. Connection to God, connection to ourselves, and connection to others, so that we can move toward having the kinds of relationships that we were created to have. So what causes us to behave the way that we do? Some people, when they're in emotional distress or something painful is happening for them, they tend to get bigger and louder. And while other people, what they may do is kind of get smaller and shrink down and just withdraw altogether. And a lot of times what we find is that there's something either painful or not so good happening on the inside that's causing us to react the way that we do, that then shows up the way that it shows up on the outside. So a lot of times it has something to do with pain. Now, many of us growing up, we've kind of heard the message in society or in church or in different places that, you know, our emotions aren't our friends. Have you ever heard that? Or sometimes we hear that our feelings cannot be trusted, so we learn to ignore them, or we've been taught to ignore them. But feelings and emotions are actually something that was given to us by God. And they're given to us because emotions send us a signal. They send us a signal that something is either right or something is wrong. Like, for example, if you're feeling happy and you're showing signs of happiness, that's an emotion that you're feeling, that something is either good or feeling right for you. And society, we don't have a problem with showing happiness a lot of times. What we do have problems showing, though, or really understanding, is when our emotions are telling us that something is not right and something is not good. So there's signals, just like in a car when you have a check engine light that tells you that something is wrong with the car. You don't know what's wrong with the car, but you know that something needs attention. That's what that check engine light is for. And in our bodies, God has wired us to be able to have emotions that do the same thing. They kind of are the check engine light to say something needs to be looked at, something needs to be addressed. So when we don't express the emotions or even are aware of them to make sense of what they're saying, and we're either just reacting to them in the different ways that we react, what ends up happening to those emotions is that they tend to get trapped inside of us. And when they get trapped, then they end up growing, right? Like a cancer. They end up spreading. They end up clouding our lens and the way that we see the world or the way that we see other people. And then we also know that emotions, when they're not kind of dealt with, especially the difficult ones, that they can take a toll on our physical bodies, on our mental health. So there are many things that can happen when we're not taking the time to actually feel and understand what the emotions are telling us. And so what we do is shut down, or we get destructive. And so then when we get destructive, then those emotions are never addressed for what they really are. People then tend to respond to whatever the action is that they see. So say, for example, you're angry or upset about something, and so you shout and you yell. People then, or the recipients or people around you that you're shouting and yelling to, they won't really understand what's going on underneath that, right? So they'll tend to respond to the behavior. We see that a lot with children in schools. When sometimes children are acting up or acting out, then they get a consequence or a punishment for the behavior. But no one takes the time to understand what is really going on underneath that behavior. What is true for children is also true for us as adults. And so we really want to take the time to understand what our emotions are telling us. So for those of us who kind of shut down when we have maybe a difficult emotion or a hard emotion happening for us, how do we get to the place where we start to feel again? Because again, we stop feeling, we shut down, we get smaller as a way to cope and deal with something that is unpleasant, and it's usually pain. And for those of us who get loud and get bigger and sometimes can what appears to be aggressive or to lash out at other people, how then can we use our emotions constructively? How can we learn to respond rather than react? And lastly, how can we learn to use the pain that we even feel or that we've gone through to help minister to someone else? One of the ways, my friends, that we can start to feel again or even make sense of what our emotions are telling us is to recognize it in our bodies. What do I mean by recognizing it in our bodies? Well, let's take anger for an example. Let's say that you're feeling angry about something. Your body usually registers that you're feeling angry. Some people may start to feel hot. Some people may start to sweat. Some people may start to feel butterflies in their stomach. Some people may start to ball up their fists, or maybe their shoulders and their back area gets tight. Your body, before your mind can even make sense that you're angry or whatever is going on, your body already responds to the fact that you're feeling something. In this case, we're talking about anger. So one of the things you want to do when you're feeling a difficult emotion like anger, like sadness, like fear, or whatever other emotion that may be difficult for you to feel and process, is to first recognize in your body what kind of changes are happening within me. Do I feel like my heart is starting to beat faster? Once you're able to recognize what is going on in your body, then being able to recognize the emotion. So I'm balling up my fist, my shoulders are tight, I'm feeling angry. Research has showed that there is something called name it to tame it. You probably heard it before on other channels or on the internet. It's called name it to tame it. And what that means is when we name or identify an emotion, it helps our brains to calm down, especially when we're in a heightened state. So basically, just naming the emotion for what it is, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling scared, helps the brain to kind of regulate itself and to calm that emotion down. The second thing that can help with emotions is having an emotional vocabulary. Here you'll see a wheel of emotion words. It's good to have that maybe on your phone or somewhere maybe posted, because it helps you to develop a more robust vocabulary to be able to identify the different types of feelings that you have. Again, the more you're able to identify your feelings, is the more you'll be able to tame those feelings. Because what you're trying to do is regain control, not let the feelings have control of you, but you have control over them. The third thing you want to do when you are identifying your feelings, and this is very important, is to allow the feeling to be with you without judgment. This is a difficult one to do because there are times where maybe we feel afraid. I'm going to use afraid for example. Maybe we're afraid of something and you hear that other voice in your head that says you shouldn't be afraid. You should be stronger than that. This shouldn't scare you. This should scare toddlers or other people, but this shouldn't scare you. That's you adding a judgment to that emotion that you're feeling. And when you or anyone else adds a judgment to an emotion, what we tend to do is either squash that emotion down. We don't allow it to tell us what it is, why it's there, and then we can't really figure out what to do about it. When you ask yourself the question, why am I feeling what I'm feeling? What you are doing now is you are exploring that feeling. You are trying to learn and understand what that feeling, what that emotion, what that signal is saying to you. Asking the question why helps us to explore what it is that the emotion is trying to tell us. Is it trying to tell us that there is some unresolved pain there? Is it trying to tell us that something that we feel overwhelmed about something? Is it trying to tell us that a boundary has been crossed or that we feel like we've been treated unfairly? Helping us to understand our emotions is something that is critical in being able to tame it and understand it, and using our emotions and the knowledge that we get from it in a productive way. If you found this information helpful, please like and subscribe to this channel. You can also hit the notification bell to know when I post new videos. And you can also check out my website at www.theartofconnectiontherapy.com. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. And always remember, connection is an art worth mastering. Take care.